Okay, we're going to talk about blocking in again, blocking a series of objects as opposed to one object. We have the bottle from the previous demo, and now I've added an apple and a vase on the right hand side. The apple is closer to us, the vase is further back. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We have a standard distribution or organization of the picture plane. I think we're all familiar with that. Foreground, middle ground, background. Foreground denotes the things that are closest to us, the middle ground, and then the background furthest from us. So the apple's in the foreground, the bottle and the vase, middle ground, and the rest uh, we consider the background. How we organize that on the picture plane or the page or the canvas is by placing the things that are in the foreground towards the bottom of the page, and the things that are farther away from us a little higher up on the page. Things that are in the background, if there were other objects back there, would be placed even higher on the picture plane. And that's how we can establish a sense of pictorial space and receding space. Okay, so we have the bottle from before, and I'll begin by adding the apple on the left-hand side and trying to establish its shape by blocking it in, simplifying, seeing through. In this case, seeing through the apple. I left the bottle in the background, and the drawing, all of the drawing is going to show that aspect of seeing through. As you draw things on top of other things, it makes it a lot easier, the continuity in trying to establish a shape. So seeing through, simplifying into a basic, into a circle, pretty much for now. And no need really to subdivide this object, but when we get to the vase, which is a little further away, so I'm going to place it up a little bit, I can try and figure out how I should do that, how they relate to each other using the pencil to establish a sight line, lining it up with the bottom of the vase, and seeing how that relates to the apple, as well as the bottle, of course. So the bottom of the vase is a little higher up on the page than the bottom of the bottle, which is a little higher up than the bottom edge of the apple. So subdividing, trying to establish the width and the height of that vase, which has a kind of an oval shape in terms of its body. Drawing lightly, loosely, using the pencil with a very light touch. I also want to talk a little bit about how we hold the pencil, depending on whether we're working on an easel or on a tabletop. If you hold the pencil as if you're writing, that's okay for shading and filling in details and things like that. It's not really practical when we're trying to block in larger shapes in a kind of a loose way. It restricts our movement a little bit. So I hold the pencil as if it were a drumstick or something like that. There are different ways of holding it, of course, but for me, this works, either flipping the hand up or down, holding the pencil with the index finger and the thumb and wrapping the other fingers around it. So the vase, the size, the shape, subdividing, and you can make as many of these lines as you need to until you're satisfied that it's symmetrical and that it's the right kind of ellipse that you're looking for. That stemmed short, but we'll start with a rectangular shape. Again, we'll use ellipses to establish the opening. Remember that if something like that opening at the top of the vase or the bottle is at your eye level, it's going to look like a straight line. As this information moves down from your eye level, you'll see more of the opening, so we need to expand that ellipse a little bit. Okay, and then we make our connections. We begin to connect the body with the neck and try to make sure that things are looking good and symmetrical. What's nice about this method, I'll talk about that Sure, a little bit. This indirect method of painting that we're working with in the class, we're working in stages, one step to the next. Underdrawing, underpainting, then the color. Every step of the way, with a linear underdrawing, we make adjustments. This is where you create the framework for your piece, your composition. The placement, the proportions, everything, the composition taken care of. In the underpainting phase, the next step, we use one color, a dark color, burnt umber, and we establish the shadows, the value structure, lights and darks. Every step of the way you're refining. So what you don't refine now, you can get it during the underpainting phase. By the time we get to the adding color, which is a lot of information in and of itself, we've taken care of a lot of the basics. We have a nice, strong framework on top of which to work. And the beauty of this approach is that it's practical. I think it makes painting a lot easier. There's so much to consider when you're presented with a setup, a landscape, a portrait, any subject. So many things to consider, and this indirect method makes it all manageable. Okay, so I pretty much have that base down. I'm making the lines a little darker so that you can see them. And now the apple. We have a circular form. The top of the apple lines up pretty much with this along this axis. So I might want to bring that up, but I don't want to make it too large. I'll bring it up a bit, which includes the bottom of the apple. I'll bring that up and then begin refining the shape, flattening out that back part a little bit. Remember, any excess marks you can erase, and just trying to capture the actual profile, the outline of the apple. Darkening that up. All this can be erased eventually. And the stem, just quickly drawn. We don't need to be shading. What you can do is, if you have, we'll talk about that when we get into shading value, but you have highlights and shadow areas as well. You can block those in quickly, and then you have some kind of schematic shape that you can use when you're shading, blocking in the shadows, the lights and darks. Simple line drawing, nothing special. Could still use some refinement, but again, we have another step ahead of us, the underpainting step, in which we can further refine and add details as we're blocking in the shadows, the lights and darks. That's it.